Audi RS4s and RS6s have become like cliff faces in the performance car landscape, imposing, permanent and instantly recognisable. Nowadays, it's easy to imagine that RS Audis have been around forever. But of course, they haven't. The RS bloodline only reaches back to 1994, when the RS2 Avant was launched. This upright and pebble-smooth super estate was the very first RS Audi, and at the time, the world's fastest wagon. We'll get started in a moment, but first, have you subscribed to the CarGurus YouTube channel yet? Go on, tap that subscribe button. If you want a very fast family car with room for a pile of suitcases, you could go to Mercedes or maybe even BMW, but more likely you'll head to the Audi showroom. That's because Audi has built itself a reputation over the years for manufacturing the best all-weather fast estate cars, and it all started with this. Based on Audi's AT Avant, the RS2 went into production early in 1994 and remained in build for a little over a year. Just under 3,000 were built, only 180 of those in right-hand drive. The badge on the nose says Audi, but in truth this car is just as much a Porsche. It was built on a Porsche production line in Zuffenhausen, and if you look closely, you see Porsche parts and logos everywhere. It even says Porsche right here. Look, there's another badge on the back that says the same. These lower lights, they're off a Porsche. And I know you've seen the wheels already. They're borrowed from a Porsche. The brakes are as well. The calipers even say Porsche on them. And these tiny, shapely little door mirrors, straight off a Porsche. The reason is, Audi itself didn't have the capacity to engineer and manufacture this car itself. So it outsourced all of that stuff to the very best in the business. The 2.2 litre 5-cylinder engine is borrowed from lesser Audis, but uprated by, Porsche. There are lumpier cams, new intake and exhaust systems, uprated fuel injectors and bespoke engine management, plus a huge turbo. Power is rated at 311 brake horsepower and torque at 302 pound-foot. With four-wheel drive, the RS2 bounces to 62 miles per hour in 4.8 seconds, although Audi itself quoted a very conservative time of 5.4 seconds, and onto a top speed of 163. Now then, the RS2's cabin, where you cannot fail to notice the blue suede, bright blue suede to match the exterior paintwork all over the centre portions of the seats and the door cards as well. Yeah, eye-catching, but I quite like it. Overall, I think the cabin's really good as well. Of course, it feels a bit dated now. The car's 25 years old or so. The build quality, the material quality, they're really impressive. I like the switchgear as well. A good quality cabin this, which is what we've come to expect from Audis. These seats, they're by Recaro. They're really good as well. With these big bolsters, they're supportive. They're also comfortable. I do just wish this driver's seat dropped another inch or two closer to the ground. The whole point of a high-performance estate car is that as well as being fast, it's also as practical in normal use as any other estate. The RS2 has plenty of space in the back for adults, plus a big boot. In 1994, you really could carry a wardrobe home in the morning and go baiting Porsche 911 drivers in the afternoon. This is a very cool button down here next to the typically 90s graph paper style graphic of the car's four-wheel drive system. There's a button that says diff, and you press that to lock the differential in the rear axle. Sadly though, that's only for getting the car moving in very low grip conditions, slippery mud, wet grass and so on. Once you start moving over 15 miles per hour or so, the differential opens itself again. You really could live with this RS2, use it as your everyday car, without too much fuss at all actually. That's quite an important point for any high-performance estate car. It needs to remain usable and practical day to day. There is a degree of tension in this car's ride quality. It can be quite fidgety, a little bit brittle over broken surfaces, but it's not uncomfortable. The steering is pretty light, clutch, gear shift, they're both pretty light. Visibility all around is really good. It's a very easy car just to use in normal driving. Fast Audi estates earned a reputation for being heavy, leaden-footed understeer machines. Presumably that's exactly what the RS2 feels like today. Well, not entirely. There's so much mechanical grip across the front axle that if you've got the car understeering on the road, you're pushing absurdly hard. Actually, it just claws to the road surface and scoots around corners really quickly. Despite that slightly tense ride quality, there's lots of body movement, also lots of roll in corners, which I don't mind, at least to a point. When you really start wringing the car's neck, all that movement, that lack of control in the body does start to become a bit of a problem. The steering, meanwhile, it's pretty numb, but I was expecting it to be slower and a bit inaccurate. Actually, it's neither of those things. Overall, this car has got tons of pace and performance along a road, but it's not especially interactive. There's no real poise or agility or balance about the chassis in corners. So as a driver's car, its appeal is slightly limited. It is fast though. Nowadays there are front-wheel drive hot hatches with more power than this, but the RS2 still pulls with a certain forcefulness. At least it does once the turbo has woken up. You need 3,000 RPM before it starts doing anything. Below that, it's as though it's not there at all. But with 3,000 RPM on the rev counter, you feel it start to blow, and then from 3,500 RPM, you get the full force of it, and then this RS2 feels properly quick, and the engine pulls hard all the way to 7,000 RPM. There is a bit of turbo lag, there is a high boost threshold, but it's fine. Once you've got it spinning at 3,500 RPM or so, you've got plenty of power band to work with, and the car feels really strong. I was expecting a more characterful, more distinctly 5-cylinder soundtrack from this engine. You don't get it, actually, it's just quite a bland soundtrack. But I do like the manual gear shift. It's oily slick, but with a nice, tight, direct, mechanical feel. The Audi RS2 Avant may have been engineered and built by Porsche, but it doesn't exactly drive with the precision and response of a Porsche sports car. That's no great surprise though, is it? Then as now, performance estate cars are not about on-the-limit thrills and touchy-feely interaction. Instead, they're about practicality and luxury combined with massive performance. It's a familiar Audi blueprint, and it's a blueprint that was first sketched out by the RS2. Thank you for watching this CarGurus video. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out cargurus.co.uk, which is where you'll find a great deal on your next used car from a top-rated dealer.